So we'll go back and forth in the Parsha and Hanukkah. There's the famous Beis Yosef's question. The Beis Yosef asked the question, why is Hanukkah 8 days? What was the question behind, what's his question? Beis Yosef says they found enough oil for 1 day. So if they had enough oil to burn 1 day, how many days was there a miracle? 7 days. So maybe Hanukkah should only be 7 days, not 8 days. That's the famous question that the Beis Yosef asked. And there are many answers that's given. First of all, the fact that they found the oil is a miracle. The first day is because they won the battle, which is really not so true. They won the battle, but they also made peace with Rome, and Rome came in. It was all because the Romans came in. Some people say they only poured in 1/8 of the oil, and it burnt the whole day. Some people say they poured it all in and only burnt 1/8 down. Some people say they poured it in and the jar filled up again, so it was a miracle. 100 different answers for the Beis Yosef's question, 100 answers. But someone asked an interesting question, that when a Yom Tov in Israel is a certain amount of days, in Chutz La'aretz it's 1 day more. Pesach is 7 days, in Chutz La'aretz it's 8 days. Sukkot is 7 days, in Chutz La'aretz it's 8 days. Shavuot is 1 day, here we have 2 days. So if Hanukkah in Israel is 8 days, in Chutz La'aretz it should be 9 days. Now that's a different question. It's not that why is it 8 days, it should be 7, it should be 1 extra day. Of course, maybe midrabanan we don't have the Sveika de Yomo, but I saw a very interesting answer. He says the Greeks focused on 3 areas. They wanted to get rid of Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Brit Milah. And if you think about it, Hanukkah, 8 days, always has a Shabbat in it, sometimes even 2. There's always a Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh Tevet is coming this Shabbos. And if Hanukkah is 8 days, Brit Milah is 8 days. So the fact that Hanukkah is 8 days knocks out all 3 of the Greeks' agenda. Mm-hmm. Takes away Shabbos, because we have Shabbos. Takes away the Rosh Chodesh, we observe Rosh Chodesh. 8 days, Brit Milah. That's why it's 8 days. Very interesting answer. If you think about it, I was hearing someone was speaking, Rabbi Wallerstein talked about it. He says that, lessons from Yosef HaTzadik. He says today in school, one of the major problems that the kids have in school is bullying. They get bullied. And people make fun. They make fun of their names, their looks, their behavior. And as a consequence, kids get depressed. They don't eat right, they don't sleep right, they don't want to go back to school. Where do they turn to? They turn to the street. Why? Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you're hanging out on the street with the gangs and the riffraff, they accept everybody. Nobody's judged.
No bullying.
No bullying. When you're at 2 a.m. in the morning and you go out to the street, they welcome you with open arms. And people want to be accepted. People want to be liked. So, we are guilty of judging. So quickly we judge without realizing what we're doing. He gave an example. He said he had a bottle of Poland Spring, that said Poland Spring water on it. And he asked one of the girls, what bracha do you make on it? She said, shahakal. He says, really? First of all, if I'm taking medicine with it, I'm not making a shahakal. Come over, smell it. Smell it was vinegar. What bracha do you make on vinegar? You don't make a bracha. She says, well, I thought it was water. Why did you think it was water? Because it's a bottle. It says Poland Spring. He says, when you only look at the outside, and you have no clue what's on the inside, you assume on the inside is water. But that's an assumption. That's a judgment. We need to train ourselves not to make those judgments. We need to start looking at people, not just the outside, but what's on the inside. I remember in Torah Academy, I mentioned this a lot, teachers would come to me and say, you throw that kid out, he's a bum. And I wouldn't do it, and they would be angry at me. I'm taking the sides of the kids, I'm not taking the sides of the teacher. And the truth is, I tried to explain to them that in 10 years, this kid will be successful, he'll be married, you won't even recognize him. No, he's a bum, he's ruining everything. And there was a case once where I introduced a kid to a teacher, and I said, do you know who this kid is? And I said his name, and her answer was, can't be. I said, no, it's him. Can't be. Why not? Why can't it be? Because for it to be him meant you were wrong. And this teacher was never wrong. This teacher's attitude was, I'm always right. For her to say, I made a mistake, it would have been the end of the world. So, the same thing with the brothers. The brothers next week will see Yosef. They don't recognize him. Why not? Here he is, the viceroy, the second in command of all of Egypt. He had the dreams. He said he was going to be a king. How come they couldn't recognize him? For them to recognize him, they would have to admit they were wrong. They were never wrong. Never in the Chumash does it say that the brothers ever said, we're wrong. Yes, we should have listened to his cries, we turned a deaf ear. But Rashi says that when Yosef said to them, I'm Yosef, he took his life in his hands, because they could have killed him right on the spot. That means they still felt maybe he deserved to die. That means up to the very end, nowhere in the Chumash does it say that the brothers sat down with Yosef. He says, you know what? Now that we really think about it, you were right, we were wrong.
Even afterwards?
Even afterwards. Nowhere does it say, and when they said, and Yosef said, brothers, you didn't do this, God sent me here, it was all God's plan. But nowhere did the brothers ever say, wow, did we make a mistake? We were wrong. 3 words. We were wrong. Never happened.
We're sorry.
Or we are sorry. Never happened. They were afraid he was going to take revenge against them. He was going to, all the other stuff they feared. But it's just an amazing thing. Just an amazing thing. They were so quick to judge, and they assumed that they were 100% right. And people do this all the time. They judge people left and right, and they assume that they're right all the time. And, we, on Hanukkah, we eat latkes. Why? Because it's fried in oil. In Israel, you know what they have? They don't have latkes like we have potato latkes. They have sufganiyot. Sufganiyot are donuts, jelly donuts. That's the real latke. Why is that the real Hanukkah treat? Because the treat is not the donut. What's the treat? The jelly. It's inside. Hanukkah means, don't look at the outside. Look at the inside. The treat, the sweet part, is hidden. You don't see it. That means we look at people, and we right away, before they even open their mouth, we judge them by the way they look, by the way they stand, how they act. We don't even know them. We're already making judgments. Yosef was coming to see the brothers. Yaakov sent him to Shechem. So why did he send them? Find out how they're doing, make sure they're okay. So he was going to check up that everything was okay. What did they say? Oh, look, the dreamer's coming. I bet you he had more dreams, he's telling us. Did he have more dreams? No. Was he telling them more dreams? No. By the time he got there, they already had the Din Torah, they already judged him, they grabbed him and they convicted him. He was already convicted but there wasn't even a trial. They were so sure. Before anything, they already had him hook, line, sinker, sunk. That was it. Finished. He didn't even open his mouth. They didn't say to him, defend yourself. I won't even talk about what's going on in Washington these days. It's the same thing, these trials.
Yeah, with Trump.
We're not going to go there. And you know what the irony is? The irony is that this Yosef, who was literally on the street and in jail for years and years on crimes he never committed, he saved the world. Yosef saved the world. Avraham couldn't save Sodom. Noah saved nobody, saved his family. Adam couldn't save his son Hevel from Cain. Cain killed him anyway. That means Yosef did something that no one person ever did. Nobody could save anybody. The angels saved Lot. That was it. But Sodom got destroyed. Nobody saved nobody. Comes Yosef, he's the first guy that saves the entire world. He organizes food and food pantries and a whole system to save the world. The guy who everybody condemns and wants to kill. Okay? That means it's so shocking. The entire Hanukkah story, it's so shocking, this whole thing that happens. There's a story on the internet. It's in one of the Hebrew books. It's one of the English Hebrew books that are out there. And I'm not sure if the story is true. I tell you in advance, it's a story. I've heard it many times. But nobody knows if it's true. But I'll tell you the story anyway, but we don't know if it's true. There was a particular day, a ninth grader, a freshman in high school, was walking home, and he was carrying all his books. And this guy sees his friend over there carrying all his books on a Friday coming home. He says, what is he doing? The weekends are for fun, to play, have football, go places. Why is he bringing home all his books? That's crazy. And then a bunch of kids from school come running by and push him and knock all the books out of his hands, and his glasses go flying and everything else, and they're making fun of his name and making fun of him. And I mean, so he goes over to this kid and he helps him put the books together, gives him back his glasses. He says, those kids are jerks. You know, where do you live? And he comes out that he only lives a few blocks away from where he lives. So he said to him, I feel bad for you. You're new in the area, you're new in the school. I don't think you have a lot of friends. Come on, let's be friends. I'm going to play football on Saturday or Sunday. Come with me, we'll play football together, we'll have a good time. And he did, and they became very, very good friends. And, you know, as time went on, they graduated. They went from 9th grade to 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. They finally came to graduation day, and Kyle was going on to Georgetown University, which was a famous university near Washington, D.C., and this guy was going to Duke. But anyway, this kid Kyle, was the valedictorian. So the valedictorian gives a speech at graduation. So he gets up on graduation, and he says, you know, at graduation, you always thank the people that helped you get to this point. And we thank our parents, we thank our teachers, but the ones that we don't thank and really deserve all the thank are our friends. Our friends are the ones who really get it here. And I, more than ever, have a friend that got me to this point. Because in 9th grade, I was so depressed that one Friday I took home all my books because I was going to kill myself. I was going to commit suicide. And I didn't want my mother to have to clean out my locker, so I brought home all my books. And then when the kids knocked me down and made fun of me, I thought for sure that was the end. I was never going back. And then this guy came over to me, and he mentioned the boy's name. He says he became my friend, and we wanted to play football, and we did things. And he literally saved my life. Because of him, I changed my mind, and I didn't commit suicide. So he says, you know, I can thank everybody for helping me get to this point, but I can only tell you one thing, that being a good friend makes all the difference in the world. And if you have a good friend, they can get you through anything. And if you have to go through life without a friend, it's the worst thing in the world. So it's an unusual story. It's a very, very unusual story. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh, something very fascinating. Listen to this Orach Chaim HaKadosh. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says that the brothers took the coat, Yosef's fancy coat, and they ripped it off of him and they cut it all up like as if an animal tore it apart. They dipped it in blood, in goat's blood, and they brought it to Yaakov. When Yaakov saw this, right away he recognized the coat. He says, this is the coat of my son. Must have been that a wild animal devoured him. Yosef has been ripped apart. Yosef is dead. Vayikra Yaakov Simlosov, Yaakov tore his clothes. He put on sackcloth and he began to cry over Yosef for many days. Then it says, Vayokumu kolbona v'chol benosav v'nachamo. All his sons and his daughters got up to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted. And he said to them, no, I will cry over my son till the day I die. So the Orach Chaim says an interesting question. He says, what did they say to comfort him? It says that all his sons and his daughters got up to comfort him. He says, what do you say to a man who just lost a son? I'd like to know, he says. You know, I sometimes have to go to a family where they lose a child, and I don't know what to say. Most of the time, you don't know what to say. It's too shocking. He says here, all his sons and daughters got up to comfort him, but the Torah doesn't say what they said. What did they say? How did they make Yaakov feel better? Listen to what the Orach Chaim's answer is. It's a shocking answer. Listen to his answer. He says, let's say a couple is married for 50 years. And now they're going to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. So the kids want to do something special. What do? They rent a hotel. And they bring all the children, and all the grandchildren, and all the great-grandchildren, the entire family, and they throw a party, a surprise party. And they say to the couple, look, from you two came 7 children, and 25, 30 grandchildren, and 50 or 60 great-grandchildren. Just look how many people came from you. So the Orach Chaim says that's what they did. All the sons and all the daughters and all the children, all the grandchildren, they came to Yaakov for Shabbos. And they said to him, we know Yosef's gone, but Yosef was one person. We're hundreds. Hundreds of people came from you. Abraham only had a Yitzchak. Yitzchak had a Yaakov Esau, but you have hundreds. Look how much you accomplished, Yaakov. What are you crying for? You should feel good. And you know what Yaakov said to them? Yaakov said to them, you're not a father. You don't understand. Every child is special. And the fact that I have 300 children doesn't take the fact that I lost one child. And that child is special. And these 300 can't give me what that one child was going to give me. Because every child is special. There is no nechama in numbers. And then the rabbi spoke, he says, we could say Hashem is a father. Hashem looks at the Jewish people like children. We can say to Hashem, listen, Hashem, there's thousands of kids in yeshiva and kollels and everything else. So what if there's a few hundred kids in public school? Who cares? Look how many thousands you have in yeshiva. Lakewood has 5,000 people. What do we care that Forest Hills High School has 100 kids? What do we care? Lakewood has 5,000 kids. And Hashem says, yeah, but every kid is special. Lakewood's 5,000 is great. But 100 kids in Forest Hills High School, that's terrible. If it's only 100, it could be 200, it could be 300, who knows how many. You're not thinking like a father. That's what Hashem says to us. You're looking at numbers, and you think numbers is the answer to all. It's not a numbers game. When the neshama is lost, there's a loss, there's a pain. And you can't console that pain. But that's the Orach Chaim. Very interesting answer that the Orach Chaim says. Very interesting answer. You focus on the positive. Listen to this story. The story was written by Chano Teller. Chano Teller has written many books. One book that he wrote was Courtrooms of the Mind, a very interesting title. He says everybody has a courtroom in their mind. They're judging everybody and everything all the time. Courtrooms of the mind. He says there was this kid, I guess he grew up religious, but then went off the derech, went off the path, and got involved in Buddhism. Went to India, Buddhism. And he was covered with tattoos, but he had on his stomach this big tattoo of Buddha. Now, whenever he took off his shirt, there was this big Buddha idol tattooed all over his stomach, his chest and stomach. Anyway, eventually this kid got involved with Eish HaTorah and then Or Sameach, and he became a Baal Tshuva. And now he had a problem. He had all these tattoos. And you couldn't just erase these tattoos. They were too big to take them off. They were there. I mean, there's nothing you can do with them. And he was thinking, how is he ever going to go dating? And he's going to marry a girl, and there's a frum girl, a Beis Yaakov girl, and he takes off his shirt, and there's this big Buddha, and she'll go crazy. She'll run out the door. So I don't know what he did about that, and he discusses back and forth what the rabbis were suggesting to him. But Erev Yom Kippur, people go to the mikveh. So here he is, he's going to the mikveh, Erev Yom Kippur. The mikveh is full of people. So he has a towel, and he wraps the towel all around him like this. He covers himself over, till he goes into the mikveh, and he picks up the towel and he's going to cover him. And he's walking, and somehow, either someone stepped on the end of the towel, or the towel got caught, and before you know it, the towel fell off, and everybody was schmoozing and talking, and all of a sudden, silence. Everybody was staring at this guy's Buddha on his chest. And this guy is turning beet red, like, he can't even, if he had a rock, he'd crawl under it. He didn't know what to do. He just froze. He was so embarrassed. Finally, an old man comes over to him and says to him, look, I also have a tattoo. It sounds like you and I had difficult childhoods. I made it, you'll make it. And he felt better. The tattoo was from Auschwitz. You know, Auschwitz, they put a tattoo on the arms of people from the concentration camp. The guy said to him, look here, my boy, I also have a tattoo. In case I should ever forget what those monsters had planned for me. It seems we both have come a long way from our youth. And that's it. He says, forget about it. Who cares what you have? That was then, this is now. You're changed. You're here in the mikvah.
Yeah, but where's the way at some point? Did you put the tattoo for like 10, 20 years? Where's all?
Yeah, well, he got it 4 years ago, so he has another 20 years before it wears away. These tattoos are sometimes permanent, it's not so simple. But it's a great story. Here's a guy, he's frozen, he's embarrassed, And an old guy comes over to him and says to him, I also have a tattoo. So what? So what? I had a difficult life, you had a difficult life, I made it, you'll make it. Sometimes you need to just know the right words to say. It's not always so easy to find the right words.
Is it true? They said the tattoo itself already you have it. It's not the sin when you did it.
Right, that's correct. It's not having it, it's just to do it, you shouldn't do it. So, listen, there's nothing you could have done about it at this point.
They can, but if it's too much, it's very
It's
painful.
hard. They could do like a laser and remove
they're burning it. Maybe
it.
now it's easier, but before it was
Yeah.
supposed to like burn with the acid or something.
It was
very
a
painful.
very painful thing, very hard
And
to
too
do.
much, the things like scrap or whatever.
Correct. So the brothers went to Shechem. So Yaakov sends Yosef to Shechem. So the Kli Yakar says something interesting. He says, why did Yaakov send Yosef to Shechem? What was his agenda? Check up on the brothers, but what was his goal? He says, in Shechem, the brothers fought together to protect Dinah. Shechem was a symbol of how the family united to protect someone. Yaakov says, if they fought together to protect Dinah, maybe if we go back to Shechem, they'll band together to protect Yosef. That was his plan. Because Shechem was where the family became a family. But in the end, the Pasuk says they moved on from Shechem. They went to Dosan, a different area. They weren't interested in Shechem. So when Yosef finally came to them, they were no longer at the point where they were defending the family. They were in Dosan, which comes from the word don, to judge. They were judging. And in the end, they judged Yosef. But I understand what Yaakov wanted. Yaakov wanted to, that they should judge, something, but it was not. It says Yaakov loved Yosef because Yosef was Ben Zkunim. You know what it means to be a Ben Zkunim? You have to go out?
No.
Okay. What was that?
That's
Okay. What is Ben Zkunim? Ben Zkunim means that Yosef was the child from when he was an older man. He was his youngest child. But the truth is, there was a child even younger. Who was the younger child? Binyamin. Yosef was like 6 years older than Binyamin. So why wasn't Binyamin the Ben Zkunim? Why was Yosef that special child? Why wasn't Binyamin?
Because he and Yaakov, they had the same things.
Right. So some people say that they had certain connections spiritually, Torah-wise.
Both got an angel.
Right. But the Chizkuni has a totally different answer. Very interesting answer. The Chizkuni says that when Yaakov looked at Yosef, Yosef looked like his mother. And when Yaakov looked at Yosef, you know what he remembered? How happy Rachel was when he was born. Binyamin looked like his mother. When Yaakov looked at Binyamin, what did he remember?
How she died.
How she died. That was it. He looked at Yosef, he could see Rachel smile. He looked at Binyamin, he saw his wife dead. Therefore, Binyamin could never be that Ben Zkunim. He could never be that baby child.
Ben Zkunim means baby child.
Yeah, the youngest child. Could never be the pampered youngest child. The memory that it evoked was just too extreme. By Yosef, it was a pleasant memory. He remembered how happy Rachel was. But by Binyamin, it couldn't be. It just couldn't happen. So, as much as he wanted it to happen, it wasn't going to happen. Why was, when they sold Yosef, Reuven wasn't there. So the question is, why wasn't Reuven there? So they said either it was his day to serve his father, so he was home taking care of his father, or he was doing teshuvah for when he mixed up the beds. But he mixed up the beds 20 years earlier. It was a long time to wait for doing teshuvah. But he realized that when he mixed up the beds, he was thinking about his mother and thinking about everybody but his father. He didn't take into account his father's feelings. Now with Yosef...
What does it mean? What does it mean he mixed up the beds?
Well, Yaakov had 4 wives.
Okay.
His bed was in Rachel's tent. When Rachel died, where should his bed go? Yaakov said, put my bed in Bilhah's tent. Reuven said, what are you talking about? Bilhah. Bilhah is a maidservant. The bed should go to my mother's tent and Leah's tent. That's where the bed belongs. So they put it in Bilhah's tent, and Reuven went in and took the bed out and put it to Leah's tent. And Yaakov said, you touched my bed? moving around my furniture? What are you doing? You don't think I know where I want to be?
That's what he says to Reuben.
To Reuven, yeah. So Reuven was thinking about his mother. I understand that. The person he forgot to think about was his father. Remember, Yaakov just had a baby. Who's going to take care of Binyamin? Bilhah. Bilhah was going to raise Binyamin. Rachel died. So who has to help Bilhah? He does. He's the father. You know, when you have a little baby in the house and the baby cries at 2 o'clock in the morning, the mother doesn't always go pick up the baby. Sometimes the father has to get the baby. You can't do that if you're in a different house. You know, so Yaakov felt he had a responsibility here to help take care of Binyamin. Reuven only saw his mother. He didn't see his father. So now, when Yosef was being judged, he said to the brothers, "What are you doing?" And the brothers were talking about themselves, and Yosef, "Hey, you're forgetting about our father. How's our father going to feel about all this?" So he realized that he never did teshuvah for not taking into account his father's feelings. It's very important to take into account his father's feelings. And Reuven never did. And because he never did, he realized now more than ever before, it's time to take into account my father's feelings. So he went ahead and he did teshuvah for mixing up the beds. But it was a difficult time for the whole family. And Yosef, you know, it was a difficult time where the brothers were reacting to him. As we see, Yaakov was very pained by it all. Hanukkah and the Greeks, what is one of the contributions the Greeks made to the world? What event, what sporting event do we have from the Greeks?
Olympics.
The Olympics. What's the message of the Olympics? The Olympics is, in life you play to win. If you don't win, you're a loser. Okay, that was the Olympics. You know, the goal is to win. Judaism is just the opposite. It's not a competition. If 2 people are learning Gemara and one person spends an hour learning 5 lines and one person spends an hour and does 100 lines, the reward's the same, the hour. I don't care how many lines he covers. I don't care how many pages he covers. In Judaism, what counts is the effort. Hashem rewards the effort, not how many pages you turn. So, you know, we do our best. That's what it is. Small jar of oil burnt a whole night. That's what Judaism is all about. That's what Hanukkah is all about. So the Greeks were very, very focused on winning, but that's not what Hanukkah was.
So why? I just wanted to make sure Hanukkah happened at the end of the second temple.
Correct. Purim happened first. Purim happened between the first and second temple.
Between.
And Hanukkah
And
happened,
Hanukkah happened almost at the end.
Correct.
So why did when the Maccabees beat the Greeks out of the Israeli territory, why did Romans come?
The Maccabees, it seems, made peace with the Romans. They brought the Romans in to help them throw the Greeks out. As the Greek Empire the sun was setting on the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire was becoming stronger and stronger.
Oh, they were making allies with the Romans?
Yeah,
that's why they came into Jerusalem?
That's why they came to Jerusalem. So that's what happened. It says that when they tore up Yosef's coat, they made it look like an animal did it. Why? Because Yaakov could accept that easier. People have bechira, have free will. Animals don't do things on their own. If an animal did it, it must be that God sanctioned it. The other thing is there was no body. Animals devour the body. Robbers just kill the person, but they don't take the body away. So the fact that there was no body meant that it had to be an animal more than anything else. The Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, in his Sefer the Apirion, he writes that the Gemara brings down in Psachim, called Mesaper Lashon Hara, whoever speaks Lashon Hara should be thrown to the dogs. As if to say that the punishment for Lashon Hara is animals attack you. So they believed Yosef spoke Lashon Hara, he was speaking bad about them. So it was natural for them to say, look, the animals attacked. Why the animals attacked? Because they're speaking Lashon Hara. It's all his fault, he should not have been speaking Lashon Hara. So that was part of why they went through that whole thing. Yosef's dreams, everybody thinks they're the same, they're not the same. Let me explain to you the dreams. The first dream was 11 sheaves of corn bowing down to his sheaf of corn. So Yosef was not in the dream. There's no Yosef, there's no person standing there It was corn bowing to corn. That happened when the brothers came down with Binyamin. They bowed to Yosef for food. It was food bowing to food. The second dream was the sun, the moon, which is Yaakov, Bilhah, 11 stars, the boys, the children, all bowing down to Yosef. That's not a sheaf of corn. That was Yosef. Yosef was the king, and everybody bowed. That's what happened when Yaakov came. So the first dream was about food. The brothers were coming down to Egypt to buy food. That's true. The second dream was Yaakov was coming down, knowing Yosef was the king. It was a totally different dream. The fulfillment of the first dream didn't imply the second dream. There were two separate dreams, completely different. One was a vision of corn bowing to corn, or wheat bowing to wheat. The second dream was the sun, moon, and stars not bowing down to another star, or not bowing down to Jupiter or Saturn. It was bowing down to Yosef. Yosef could see himself standing there in the dream. So it was very, very different, the two dreams. One was about the materialistic, the food, and the other was about the spiritual side. Okay? Rabbi Gedalia Shor, he points out, well, finish in a few, Rabbi Gedalia Shor points out that there were 4 exiles. In Bovel, it was all about idol worship, because they worshipped idols, that's why they wanted to exile, and Nebuchadnezzar made a whole idol of himself. Persia was all about Gilead Arayot, the Vashti, Esther, the whole immorality. Yavon was about killing, Shvichas Damim, the Greek philosophy. If a child was born sick, they would kill him. And Edom, which we're in now, is all about Sinas Chinam and Lashon Hara. And it's interesting, Avram Avinu, he broke his father's idols. He was the kapora for idol worship. Yitzchak was the kapora for immorality. Yaakov, he was the kapora for Shvichas Domim, for blood, because he was so upset with what happened with Dinah. Who was the father, so-called, who protected us from Lashon Hara was Yosef. He would be the father. And that's why when Mashiach comes, there'll be first Mashiach ben Yosef, then Mashiach ben David. According to some opinions, Mashiach ben Yosef came already. He would take us from Edom. He would free us from the Amalek, which was Germany. Mashiach ben David, which is waiting for, his battle is not with the Western world. His battle is with Islam, Ishmael. And we see that happening now with what's going on in the world. So it's interesting.
Who is Yosef, Mashiach ben Yosef?
Who was he? If he came, I don't know. People speculate, but they really don't know. We just know that that period of time, battling the West and Amalek, that was 70 years ago. So we are in the last phase. There's supposed to be a Mashiach ben Yosef before Mashiach ben David. Everybody seems to feel Mashiach ben Yosef has come already.
But how? We never seen him.
And we've never seen him. Because he was only temporary. He was only a bridge. Maybe we weren't meant to see him. We had to get through the West. The Western, cultures that were trying to destroy us. We did that. Now we have to fight the Eastern cultures. That's the next
Yeah,
battle.
but wasn't there an opinion that during the Gog and Magog, Mashiach ben Yosef is going to die because of war?
Correct.
So both of them are going to be present.
We don't know if they're both ever going to be present at the same time. There seems to be a dispute about that. And most people feel they're going to, in hindsight, once it all happens, we'll see what really happened. Who knows? It brings down that the Greeks had many, many laws. For example, they would not allow you to say Hashem's name. They would not allow sacrifices on the Mizbeach. They would not allow the menorah to be lit. They went into the Beis HaMikdash and broke the menorah, and they took away all the oil. They couldn't keep Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Bris Milah. They wouldn't allow people to go to the mikveh. They wouldn't allow locks on the doors of the Jewish homes. They wouldn't allow men to write the ksuva. One opinion says they outlawed kosher food. Everybody had to eat meat and milk together. They burnt the Sefer Torahs. They set up altars for idol worship. They made you ride on the horn of your animals that you'll have nothing to do with Hashem. So while the main focus was on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh and Bris Milah, and no learning, but it seems that they had many, many rules that prohibited any type of religious belief. So, whatever their issue was, whatever the Greeks' problem was, maybe they had their own gods, Zeus and all these other things, but they were very, very much against everything else that was going on. Okay, on Hanukkah, for example, when you light the candles and they burn half an hour, can you blow the candles out?
No.
After half hour.
After half an hour, the answer is yes. Once the candles remain lit for at least half an hour, you fulfill the mitzvah, you can extinguish the candles. Some people don't, but you're allowed to do it. You're not allowed to sit and read by the light of the menorah, even if there's a shamash. What about after the half hour? You still should not. What happens if women, they don't daven shacharit, they daven mincha? Can they say hallel by mincha time? The answer is yes. You can say hallel any time during the day.
Halel?
Hallel,
Halel.
yeah.
Okay.
They can say that any time during the day.
Women also should say when she took the
Right, she could. Do married women light the menorah? The answer is no. They get their yotze with their husbands. In the Ashkenazi homes, single boys light the menorah, and even single girls sometimes light the menorah. But they don't have to. If the father lights the menorah, everybody fulfills it. What happens? I get this question all the time. If someone's in college, the daughter's in college, doesn't come home till 9 o'clock, the father lit the menorah at 6. Were they yotze? Yes. Even though they didn't see it.
With the what?
They fulfill the mitzvah. If the father lit the menorah, yes. As long as the father lit the menorah, they're yotze. Even though they didn't see the menorah, they don't have the custom to light a menorah. The father lights the menorah on behalf of his daughters. It's okay. They fulfill the mitzvah.
I have a question. So on Friday evening, before we have to light the Hanukkah candles before the Shabbat candles.
Correct.
Can I leave it to my mom to do it if I cannot make it on time?
Leave it to your mom to light the
Hanukkah candle.
Sure, if she's the head of household and she's lighting, yes, you could if you have no choice.
If I cannot make it, me and my brother, we can make it on time.
Yeah.
Because we're coming from work. So.
And make sure that the candles burn for at least half an hour after the stars come out. Because if you light the candles at 4:15, they have to burn till about 6 o'clock.
Well, they're olive oil candles, so they should be able
They
to
should be
last for
fine.
like 2 hours.
Correct, that's all that counts.
First Hanukkah candle, then the Shabbos.
Right, because if you light the Shabbos candles, then the Shabbos, you gotta light the Hanukkah candles.
Before you said the wife cannot light up the.
The custom is that the married women don't light because the husband lights. Of course, if the husband's not home and his wife wants to light, and she's head of household, she can light. If she has no choice. She was also part of that miracle. And the husband can light later. On Shabbat, that can't happen. The husband's going to be late, let his wife light. And then after Shabbat, we make Havdalah first usually, and then we light the Hanukkah candles. We add Shabbat,
and then Hanukkah candles.
then we light Hanukkah candles.
One question, I can't understand that Hashem used to, when the Kohen Gadol
Right?
goes to the, how do you call it?
Went into the Kodesh Kedoshim,
Yeah, once a year.
right, on Yom Kippur.
If something wrong with him, Hashem kills.
He did not survive the ordeal,
Yeah, how
correct.
come they did so much to the Bet HaMikdash and everything, the Romans or Greeks? How come no punish for them at that time?
Well, that was because Hashem sent them to destroy the Beit HaMikdash for the sins of the Jewish people. So, they were carrying out their Hashem's mission. Eventually, they all got paid the price for it.
After.
Sure, the Romans got destroyed. There's no Rome. The Rome today is not the Roman of old.
What you said about the Rome and Greek, what they do to this?
I said that the Greeks lost, right? The Maccabees won. But if you look at history, the Maccabees didn't really win. They made peace with the Romans. They brought the Romans in, and the Romans helped chase out the Greeks.
Eli, you said Eli, what does it mean?
Allies.
Allies.
Allies means
Družba.
friends.
Družba.
How you spell Elias?
A-L-L-I-E-S.
ALIES. Allies.
A-L-L-I-E-S.
It's like in
Means
World War II.
Right.
England
and America
France,
were all
America,
allies.
Soviet Union were allies.
became a friend.
Yes, they were on one side, and then there were axes: Germany, Italy, and Austria, right?
Austria was part of Germany, Japan.
Japan. There were axes.
Austria was part of Japan.
No, Austria, Germany took over Austria because they spoke German, so
Yeah.
Germany believed Austria was really part of the German Empire. And the world gave them Germany. Have a good night.
Good night.
Rabbi Brycks, I have a question. In a temple, the menorah is 3